Let's talk about Michigan's schedule. And this is a hot topic in the offseason. Like the schedule, like when you look up, if you go on Google, if you probably, I would imagine, look up toughest schedules in college football, someone's probably written an article about Michigan being in there. This is a brutal schedule. All right. You're out of conference, right? You play Fresno State at home. Sure, like your first five games you get at home, which is really nice. Okay. If you're looking on YouTube, you can see the graphic on the screen. If you're listening on Spotify, I'd encourage you to go to YouTube. It makes the viewing experience more enjoyable because we have these graphics up here. But Fresno State, you get at home. Luckily, Texas, you get at home, which is tough, right? I mean, I actually think Texas can win that ball game. Like I would, if
Texas
you
is
were to
gonna be
tell me,
favored in that game
if
for
you were
sure.
to put a gun to my head, I would pick Texas to win that game, even on the road. So, and then Arkansas State, who, I mean, that's a win for Michigan, but also that's not an easy team to play. Like they're kind of on the rise there in the Sun Belt. They got some good young talent in there, and Butch Jones may have just saved his job this last offseason. So
They
it's just
return 82% of their offense. And yes, Michigan has a ton of talent returning up front, right? Even though they lose a ton of guys in the NFL draft, they're going to replenish there. But also, like, you're bringing a new scheme, right? With um Wes Mc or Frick, what's his name? Wink Martindale. Sorry, Wink
yes.
Martindale. And then you're also, yeah, you got to replace these guys, and they throw the ball all over. They return, like I said, 82%. That's good for eighth nationally. I'm not trying to convince you that Arkansas State's going to go in there and upset them, right, to bet that money line game. But I'm just saying, like, it's not going to be easy. And those things, you're going to play a lot of snaps in that football game, potentially defensively, and that's going to hurt you later on down the road when you're maybe getting to at week 6 at Washington, right?
Yeah. Also, too, like I hate this word and this concept because it's stupid, and I think it worsens the viewership experience for sports fans. But like because of the college football playoffs, like there might be potentially an extra game that you're playing in the season. Injuries are very important in load management. Like Wink Martindale does not know how to load manage. Right? He's going to come at you 100% of the time, full speed. Um, so like in those games, like Arkansas State, like where you're hoping you can get your starters off the field quickly, like it might not be as quick as you think, because Arkansas State might be a little bit frisky offensively. So yeah, so that's their out of conference. Like, in conference, you get USC at home, who I think they should handle. Minnesota, they handled last year pretty well. Washington, you go on the road. Now Washington, this is a different Washington team than we saw last year. Nice, so which is crazy. We get a national championship rematch, week 6 of the season.
Two new
Pretty awesome.
coaches, brand new teams. Brand new conference for Washington. It doesn't even feel like it's a national championship rematch, right? That normally that's a gift, and that's a total like, holy cow! Everyone's focused on that game, circling on our calendar. And while yes, it's a big deal for both these programs in the Big Ten, but it doesn't feel like that same kind of vibes. But regardless, though, it's still going to be tough, I think, for Michigan to still go on the road after a tough 5 game stretch and play, in Seattle.
Yeah. Then you get a bye before you go into the rest of your Big Ten. Well, I guess you get two byes in the Big Ten schedule, which is I like the later byes. That I think dynamically works out for them pretty well. Illinois, I don't anticipate that being a problem, or Michigan State, but you play Oregon at home. And Oregon might be a ball club this year. It might be a ball club. So that's kind of that's a sneaky game. Not a sneaky game, sorry. That is a prime time, gigantic game that if they want to go to the college football playoffs, if you can win that game, that helps your resume big time. Then you get
Oh,
Indiana, a bye, and then the biggest look ahead spot of all time, playing against Northwestern at home. I mean, any game before the Ohio State game, right? It's going to be dangerous. Like last year was Maryland, and Maryland kind of took Michigan down to the wire. If people forget, Michigan was the best team in the country, but it is a gigantic look ahead spot. That is a schedule dynamic that you got to think about. So
2 years
big,
ago,
big,
wasn't it? Was it? It was Illinois, right?
yeah.
Illinois
Two years
took it to
ago,
the
two
wire.
years ago was Illinois. So that is something that you have to consider. So yeah, the big games to circle here, right? It's Texas, it's Washington, it's Oregon, it's Ohio State. But just those four alone make this an incredibly difficult schedule for any team in the country. Um, let alone a team that is going to be losing like 18 players to the NFL.
Yeah, and I'm not telling you to go and bet this right now, but I'm telling you that the over under right now, the consensus over under on Michigan is 9.5. All right, that means Vegas is telling you that if you want their over, they're gonna have to go and win. They're gonna have to go 2-2 or 3-2 in those games against Texas, USC, Washington, Oregon, Ohio State. Like, yes, a lot of those games are at home, but still, man, that's a lot to ask for almost a brand new team, a brand new coaching staff. Just heard Mike Hart's not returning. as a running back coach, that's a big time loss for Michigan, who has to replace Blake Corum. Yes, Donovan Edwards is very good. I get that. Regardless, though, still a loss overall for your coaching staff. That's a lot, man. That's a lot. In the new Big 12, I'm sorry, the new Big 10, with the traveling, your West Coast trip is Washington. Yes, you get a bye after that, which is nice. Obviously helps. Doesn't make that game much easier though in week 6. And then Michigan State, new coaching staff. They're going to be looking to get better and revenge on Michigan for the embarrassment they've had the past couple of years on them. You mentioned Northwestern trap game at Illinois. You remember what Illinois did them a couple of years ago, right? And obviously, much different football
Different
team.
different team. Yeah, but
Yeah,
I see your point there. I see your point. I mean, the one that I want to look at too, like I could rattle off, the metrics of this Michigan national championship team, and you're like, wow, what a good program, good football team. They're 128th in returning production. 128, according to Bill Connolly, it's returning production metrics. Fortunately for them, Washington on this schedule, is 130th. So you have some teams on the schedule that also kind of fit that bill. But we already talked about Northwestern, dude. Northwestern, a team that overperformed last year, is 6th in returning production. Now they don't get the legend Ben Bryant at quarterback back, but I mean, it feels like it might not matter who's playing quarterback there. It was just a well-coached football team last year, and they found ways to win ball games. So
Mhm.
honestly, I'd say that it's kind of fortunate that they get that game at home, but you never know. Like if there's some bad weather over there, I mean, in the big house, like it could get kind of smelly over there. It could get kind of smelly. I mean, Northwestern even took Iowa. Like they took Iowa. They made a mess in that game. Uh, uh, I guess I don't think they didn't make Ohio State look bad last year, right? It was 2 years ago that they made Ohio State look bad, or was it this year?
Yeah.
No, it was this year.
I I think it was 2 years ago because the whole big deal was like
Oh,
it was
CJ Stroud.
CJ
Yeah, yeah.
Stroud.
It was
Yeah.
like in the snow and like um I remember that. I remember that.
Yeah.
So I guess
We're-
a year off, but definitely let's see 2022. I'm trying to find 2022 score. I don't remember that score. Anyways, I'm sure people in the comments can let us know what's going on there, but yeah, Michigan fans, let us know like what do you think about the schedule? Obviously it's brutal, right? But like what is your confidence level going into this? Like 1 to 5. Like 5 meaning like undefeated, here we go, and 1 meaning like, man, we could lose 4 or 5 games on this schedule, right?
Let
So
me
I
let me ask you this here. Yes, so Vegas puts their over under win total at 9.5, like I said. So that means they're gonna have to go at least 1-2 against Texas, Oregon, and Ohio State. Right now, are they favored in any of those games? Even Texas and Oregon at home? Do you think they're favored?
I don't think they're favored against Texas or Oregon, actually. Yeah, I don't think they're favored against either of them.
And not
Is that
Ohio
crazy?
State
And not
at
Ohio,
Ohio
definitely
State.
not Ohio State on
So
the road.
that's the thing here.
That's
Is like Vegas is
wild.
telling you they're gonna have to win one of those games and upset someone, which I get that happens all the time, right? But that means they're gonna have to upset those teams, at least one of those teams, and run the rest of their schedule perfectly after losing all that talent and the coaching staff. I'm just saying, like dynamically, right? Yes, last year's Michigan team probably runs through the schedule pretty handily. Texas and Oregon probably pretty tough, and
I
along
mean,
with Ohio
not
State.
there's 2 college football playoff teams on the schedule, and Ohio State. I mean that like last year, if this last year Michigan team was to play this schedule last year, it would be a gauntlet. You
Yeah.
know, like you
So
have 4 college football playoff contenders on this schedule, and then just in the mix too, it would be a Caleb Williams game, just like I don't know, casually week 4. That you got to figure out how to figure that how to stop him. But we're talking about 2024, and it's still going to be a brutal schedule, I think.